So I want to talk a little bit about why I like doing aviation refinement so much. I want to bring up some points, that I've noticed across, the last 4 years of running my own business, something that, I enjoy about going out every time and, doing the job. So, one of my favorite things about aviation refinement is the way that the clients act. And what I mean by that is they're pretty careless. You notice the more expensive that the airplane is, the more careless they act. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean as in, they don't care when something goes wrong. They're super nonchalant. And I think that they have that, characteristic in them, and that's a big thing that helped them become successful. Because if you think about it, how do you become successful? You have to look past failure. You have to pick yourself back up, when things go wrong. You have to look at the positives. And so, I noticed that a lot of the time when they walk around in their hangar, they're just like strolling, looking around, not a care in the world, which is really awesome to see, because I feel like that's a huge characteristic of people that become successful. Another thing that I noticed is that your clients, the wealthier they are, the more that they want to see you succeed. And because they know what it takes to become successful, obviously you have to be extremely wealthy to own a private jet. So, they know what it takes to get to that level. And so whenever they see, a business owner, especially younger business owners, they're always, cheering them on. They go talk to them. They like to hear their story because they genuinely want to see you succeed. Like other people that don't have money, a lot of those people that I come across, they're super envious for some reason about the smallest things. Like you could get even, let's say, a base model brand new BMW, they'll still be envious of you. Like I don't understand that type of mindset. But these wealthy people, whenever you get something that is to them is considered like trash, not trash, but let's bring up my McLaren for example. So I have a McLaren 570S. That's like one of the cheaper McLarens that you could buy. And when my super successful clients see that car, they're hyping it up. They're excited about it because they genuinely want to see you succeed. Versus the people that don't have money or don't have that mindset, they get envious of a base model brand new BMW. Like I don't understand that mindset from those type of people. So that's another really cool thing about aviation refinement is your clients genuinely want to see you succeed, and they're willing to support you for that. Another thing that I really like is the connections. So, I met a lot of interesting people, different businesses. Some of them do manufacturing, some of them do, they sell products, other ones are in oil. There's just a whole lot of different businesses that these people come from, a whole lot of different backgrounds that help them become successful. And it's really cool to see that, because sometimes you come across somebody and they expand your mind into something that you never even would have thought of. Like one of my clients, he does manufacturing for like Nike and stuff like that, so I guess you could think about that. But he does like expansion for them and whatever else. And then let's say another one of them sells stuff to restaurants. Like it's crazy, like two different types of backgrounds, but both of them became successful. So that just kind of shows you, that, and a lot of them say that they came up through connections, but that just kind of shows you that it doesn't matter what you do, you could pretty much scale anything. Because, like I said, I know people in manufacturing, I know people that sell stuff to restaurants, and both of them own private jets. So, a whole lot of different backgrounds. They could give you different business ideas through their own business. A lot of these really successful people, they love to talk and hear your story. I already said that, but love to hear how you came up. They like to hear the stories, of rags to riches, because a lot of them went through that themselves. I know immigrants that came, from a different country, and, they started building a business, and, 4 years later, they're billionaires now. I know several people like that. So they love to hear those kind of stories. They love to see, young people succeed. They love to motivate, and they just absolutely love, to see young people getting after it. Because, in today's generation, a lot of people, just sit around on the couch all day. They play video games, they eat hot Cheetos. That's just kind of disgusting, and they don't like that kind of mindset. So whenever they see a young person, going up or getting up and getting after it, that makes them really excited. So that's something that I noticed that I really like about doing aviation refinement. And some of the people that I come across, I think that's probably my favorite things that there is about this business.